And we are live. Welcome everybody to the accounting Q&A. My name is Matt. I'm really excited to chat with all of you. And I've also brought Lori, our support manager, in today. The reason she's in is because she's basically our resident ChurchTrac accounting expert. She's got a lot of experience in the world of church accounting, so we're going to have her answer a lot of your questions. We're going to be diving in pretty soon. What we're going to do for this is I'll open a Q&A in just a moment where you can drop all of your questions and we'll start answering them one by one as we go. But before that, we're going to actually walk through just the fundamentals of ChurchTrac accounting, right?
Right. Just how to make sure things are set up, Matt, and then we'll jump right into your question and answer session.
Yeah, because chances are a lot of your questions will be based around setting up and just having that foundation laid properly, or the problems you're facing are because that foundation wasn't laid properly. So maybe we can help you out there. Before we dive into all of that, though, I want to share a few really great and helpful resources with all of you in the chat. So if you're watching this from home, click the little chat icon in the right-hand side of the screen, and you'll see these things that we're dropping into the chat now. I don't have it. We have a YouTube channel that you can subscribe to. Oh, David and I put the same thing in the chat at the exact same time. Go ahead and click on the link that's in the chat and subscribe to that YouTube channel. We have hundreds of videos you can watch, many of them about the accounting features.
Yes, sir.
So a lot of your questions will be answered in those videos. We also have a Facebook group. It's a wonderful community of church leaders from all over the world that would love to answer any questions that you have, whether they be about ChurchTrac accounting or about anything even related, like unrelated to ChurchTrac at all. One of my favorite things about that community is seeing church leaders and ministry leaders asking each other questions just about ministry. So go ahead and join that community. You can get a lot of your questions answered there too, just by other people that have already been in your shoes. So we would love to see you there. Also, in your ChurchTrac account, in the top right-hand corner of the screen, there's this orange help button. And I'll zoom in real quick. There we go. So that you can see that in case you're watching this on your smartphone. Anytime you have a question about your ChurchTrac account, just click that button. A drop-down window appears, and we always link to a few articles in our user guide that are related to the screen you're on, so there's a pretty good chance that what you're looking for is there. But you can always click Show All Help Topics, which takes you to our online user guide, and you can search with your questions, or click the Browse All Topics and go straight to all of our accounting articles. And you can also reach out to the support team and by clicking that Ask Us a Question button. Lori, why don't you hype up the support team and tell them why they should reach out to them?
Because we're live, we're human, we're actually an amazing resource for you to take advantage of, and that's what we want you to do. We absolutely want you to reach out with the questions before you get frustrated. That's ideal. A lot of times what we experience on the support side is you reaching out after you're already upset about something. But use us as a resource before you get to that point, because a lot of times the issue is something simple that we can help you with immediately, Matt.
An ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So it's always better to reach out to us, no matter how big or small your questions are, to make sure so that we can make sure that you're taken care of and good to go before you start pulling your hair out over something that could have been fixed before.
Right.
All right.
No bald people.
No, we don't.
That's not right.
Yeah, I'm getting there, Lori. All right.
Not because of self-infliction.
Well, that's right. Yeah,
okay,
it's out of my hands. It's genetics. It's my dad's enduring legacy. All of his sons will be bald before we're 40. All right.
Aww.
Let's get into the accounting feature, though.
Okay.
So, Lori, why don't you walk us through just the core elements of the accounting feature and how to properly lay that foundation so that we all have an easy time going forward with our accounting.
Okay. So Matt, one of my favorite things about accounting is the ease of setup. So when you get into accounting, there are a few things that you want to set up first. The very first thing you want to do is start with your funds. I typically recommend that you have your budget categories, like everything that you set up and use on a regular basis. Every church has a spreadsheet somewhere on how they spend their money, Matt. Mm-hmm. So once you create your funds, if you only have one, that's fine. Then go into your categories and set up your categories. This is how you take in money and how you spend money.
Yeah, this is your income and expenses.
This is and
it's almost like a chart of accounts. It's not quite, but that's pretty close to a chart of accounts.
once you have this in place and everything in your categories is linked to the properties on the right, which tells it whether it's an income, or what fund it belongs to, the status. If you use category numbers, you can put those in. But these properties, Matt, are really crucial to making everything else that you're doing in the giving screen and in your accounting screen work with all of your transactions.
Yeah, it's really crucial, especially to like link each category to its appropriate fund.
Correct.
That way in our system,
works.
It's not just that it works, but it even simplifies things, because now you no longer have to manually update the amounts in your funds.
Correct.
Our system does that for you as you categorize your transactions, because you've already told the system that this money is coming from this fund when I use this category.
And one of the main questions that we see in support is, how do I get my money in a fund in the giving screen? You set it up in the accounting screen under your categories, and you set it and you link it. Once that link is made, then everything else works, and that's the beauty
everything
of it.
flows and falls into place very easily from there. So once you've got your funds established and your categories all laid out and connected to each fund, then you can go to the Accounts tab
and build your accounts
and list what your accounts are, and even link them to the bank so that the bank forwards transactions to your account. You just review that, and it's added to the register from there.
You simplify that a little bit. It's a manual process of linking and then syncing, but it's the same thing. If your bank doesn't work with it, you also have the ability to use a bank statement, and that's really critical too, because this way you're updating your transactions.
Yeah.
A lot of people use that to get their transactions in the register, but keep in mind, this only works if you have data in the program.
Yeah. So you have to add all of your accounts. You can then, like Lori was saying, import your bank statements to have at least a month or more of transactions added all at once, just to get things up and running very quickly. But that's how you can then add money from the accounts into your funds and divide things up from there, because you'll categorize those transactions as you review them.
And we're really simplifying this process, Matt. We really are, just for the sake of this is really
brevity.
A 30,000 foot overview rather than getting into the grit of everything.
Yeah. So we're sticking with brevity here, just because we don't have time to like walk for hours through actually setting this up. But
that's what support's for.
That's what support's for. And it really is that basic. You adding funds, linking categories to funds, and then updating transactions on the account screen. That really is the fundamentals.
It really is.
Of ChurchTrac accounting. It's not any more complex than that.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah, because this is a single entry cash-based or fund-based accounting system. It's not a double entry like QuickBooks. So it's going to be simple, and it's going to be based, like it's going to be what your church needs it to be. Now that we've got that foundation laid, though, and one last thing to mention, though, about laying that foundation is we do offer a service where we will set up the accounting feature for you. So if you join this accounting Q&A because you're at the very beginning of your journey with ChurchTrac accounting, reach out to the support team and ask them for the details on the accounting setup service, because we will actually do all of that work for you and then hand it back to you so that you have that peace of mind knowing that everything was set up correctly, and the path will be a lot smoother for you going forward.
And if you're in process and you're getting frustrated, please know that there's no point in getting frustrated with this process. That's what we're here for. We've picked it up and cleaned up stuff using the class process to get people moving forward in the right direction. Our goal is for you to use ChurchTrac accounting successfully, and as your term as treasurer ends, be able to pass this off to someone else who might be needing or picking up the program after you without having a mess.
Yeah, Barbara, in fact, in the chat has already said that she started as treasurer for her church just a few months ago, but there wasn't reconciliation previously. So she's wanting to start all accounts as current and correct. Yeah. So we're going to help you, Barbara. And the benefit of ChurchTrac accounting is that when it's set up properly and used the way it's supposed to, the next person behind you won't have the experience you're having now.
Yeah, we hear some nightmares. We really hear some nightmare stories. And it's so unfortunate because this program is designed to really be able to be passed off. It truly is, Matt.
All right, so let's go ahead. I'm actually going to close the chat and I'm going to open the Q&A. So I'm going to end, or I've already got I've got the Q&A open. I'm going to go ahead and close the chat. So as you're watching, go ahead and jump into the Q&A feature in Vimeo and ask all of your questions there. We'll get to those in just a moment. We'll start answering them live. So what I'll do is I'll be reading them off to Lori. Lori will be answering them, and I'll be steering the ship. But again, we are not accounting experts. We're not CPAs. We're not accountants. We're not tax experts either. Nope. And we're not lawyers. So make sure that you're consulting with your accountant, or if you don't, find a local accountant to pair up with your church. And just make sure that you run everything by them so that everything is above bar.
Above board.
But we are ChurchTrac accounting experts.
Right. We can certainly get you moving forward in the right direction with your ChurchTrac program and your questions. And we can give you, our user guide, Matt, is stock full of good information with links to how things work for the IRS and that kind of thing. So you're not floundering, but there are times that we are going to say you need to consult an accounting expert on this. And we typically say it in the form of a church accounting expert, because that's really critical in your correct use of the program.
Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. We've got a question here from Jessica. She asked, we are making a lot of building improvement transactions, and I'm wondering how should those get entered so they aren't hitting the income statement?
So, Matt, it's actually really important to understand that anything that you enter into the program is going to go and show on the income statement. Yep. But that's intentionally, because you want that accountability, that accountability, that transparency when you're reporting to the congregation. If you're taking $50,000 of the church's money to redo a bathroom, women's room, men's room, whatever, that needs to be accounted for somewhere. So that's part of your building project that you're doing, and those transactions should be categorized correctly for that purpose.
My just one thing to bring up, Jessica, this is just what comes to my mind, is it may be that like your church just has a general fund. Yeah. And so you're wanting to know how to like divide up and see exactly what money is coming from where at your church, and that's through the funds.
Right.
So if you want to keep the money out of a certain aspect of your church's finances, then you're going to need to have a building fund, set money aside in that, and draw out of that for these building projects.
It's still going to show on your income statement, though, Matt.
It'll still show on the income statement.
It's just going to show in a different column of the report so that it's easier to see that where the money's coming from and how it's being spent. Yeah,
just to me, I assume that like in their finances and their reporting, everything's just coming out of one place, and that's why that's where this question is coming from. But we'll go ahead and move on to the next question. Thank you very much, Jessica, for asking, though. Let's see here. Oh, also, one thing to mention in the Q&A is you can actually upvote other questions. So if you see somebody with a question that you have, you can just like that or upvote that question, and it'll appear higher in the queue, so I'll get to it faster. But let's go ahead and jump in. So Robin Ford, does the system do the 1099 forms? No 1099. In fact, like payroll is like the one thing that it won't do.
But you can run your reports.
Yeah.
So if you are doing a 1099 and you're paying people, create the payees up in if you'll walk through and show that, Matt, on our accounting screen, create your payees so that if you're trying to provide a 1099, you can run reports per a payee under your accounting screen reports and find out how much you've paid somebody for the year. Now, most 1099s are just something that you can go to your office supply store and order and then manually fill those out.
Yeah.
The important part is to make sure that you're reporting on both sides of that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thank you very much for asking. Dawn asked, what is your recommended approach to accounting for fixed assets, such as buildings, furniture, fixtures, etc.?
Okay, that's a very good question. So in ChurchTrac, you would actually create an account, and we would call it an asset account for this. But what's important for you to understand is this is not a hard money account. This is, like a cash account. This is hard money that you don't have access to. You have to manually depreciate these items annually. Yeah. That's required by the IRS. So you want to have a category for this and a fund outside of your general fund, because that's your budget, is your general fund. So you're going to want to make sure that you have categories of music equipment, pews, the church sign. I've seen all kinds of things for this. And you are going to determine the value in your beginning balance transaction for those items. And then each year you're going to manually depreciate depending on what the item is. There is a specific equation for that. You can actually Google it or go to the IRS website for that information, but that's how you're going to do that.
Yep. And so, yeah, you would just add that account and then add transactions annually to show how it appreciates or depreciates.
It's usually a depreciation.
Well, yeah, but like, land and building could appreciate, but like other physical assets, like a vehicle, the church van is not going to. Well, a few years ago, it probably appreciated. The used car market was a little weird.
This is true.
But other than that, it's going to depreciate.
Right.
All right. So thank you very much, Dawn, for asking. Let's move on to Kira's question. She said, "Is there a cost for the accounting setup? If so, how much is it?" Yes, there is a cost, and it is $4.99. It's a one-time fee, though. It's not a continual.
It's not ongoing or anything like that.
It's not ongoing. So just, again, reach out to the support team. We're not going to go into deep detail on like everything that service entails. The support team can handle that.
Absolutely.
So just send us a ticket. They'll lay it all out for you so you can see whether or not it's right for your church and your context. Sandra asked, "Is it possible to have 2 different bank accounts in different banks?" Well, yeah. Like the dashboard here, you can link any, you can add whatever accounts from any institution here. You can link even from multiple banks into ChurchTrac. It does depend on the bank, though, whether or not they participate in Stripe's Financial Connections program, because we use Stripe to facilitate that connection. But most banks do. Right. Like the huge majority of banks do. So chances are your banks will do that.
You can also track, Matt, it might be helpful for people to know that in your dashboard, you can track CDs, you can track a money market account, you can track, obviously there's a building, a church building for your fixed asset, then there's a loan. So if you need assistance with this process, go ahead, reach out to support. We actually have ways to help you with this process.
Yeah, so it is pretty simple. Just reach out to us anytime you have questions. I hate to sound like we're just passing you off to the support team in our Q&A, but there are some things that are just complex enough that we can't.
Nuances. They're just nuances that you can't really cover in this type of an environment, Matt.
Yeah. So Jessica asked, if we have a balance sheet, this is the lady that was asking about keeping the building improvements off of the income statement. But if we have a balance sheet, building improvements are a balance sheet item, not an income statement item.
So Jessica, I'm not going to disagree or agree one way or the other, but in ChurchTrac, the way that the items work is your balance sheet is actually going to show you asset accounts and liability accounts, true bank accounts, and how they are running from the beginning of time to a set endpoint. With that being said, those have no category delineations whatsoever. It's a bank account and the funds that live in that bank account. So if you don't want to see these items, run through your income statement, because an income statement is truly an itemization of the money that came in and the money that went out and showing a net position. That is actually the definition of an income statement. Yeah. If you don't want these items to show on your income statement, the only other option that you have is not to put them through your checkbook.
Yeah, to like not account for them.
I mean, that's ChurchTrac is going to show those expenditures, and technically, really, the church should be able to see what's being spent on the projects.
Yep. And then also you said that it's like a balance sheet item, not an income statement item. It is going to be an income statement item. It's just going to show up on the expense side of the income statement, because an income statement isn't just income.
Right, it's both.
It's both.
Income and expenses, and then the net position that you're left with at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like a P&L. That's exactly what
it is. A P&L.
Yeah, it is. It is a P&L. So it's going to show you your profits, income, your losses, your expenses, show you the totals in both, and then your net overall. So if you don't want it to show up on the income statement, you either don't account for it or you have to delete it from your income statement, but then it's not going to show a true representation of your finances.
Right.
All right. So thank you very much, Jessica, for asking. Shannon asked, I have 9 pages of categories, and all of them are attached to the general fund. Yet we have 9 funds. Is this why my reports make no sense to me? The answer,
Yes,
Shannon, you know the answer to this question.
That's exactly why.
Yeah.
She just needed confirmation.
Yeah, needed to make sure she wasn't crazy.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Yeah, so Shannon, go through your categories in ChurchTrac. I don't have to just illustrate or talk about it. I can show you.
Show her.
On the categories tab in the accounting screen, make sure that all of your categories are listed here, and you can organize them by subcategorizing them. But whenever you click on one of these categories, I'll use the children's ministry income category as an example, and that there's also a children's ministry expense category. On the right-hand side, you have to make sure that it is properly listed as either income or expense, and it has to be connected to its appropriate or correlating fund. So make sure you have your funds. You mentioned you have, what was it? Nine funds. 9 pages of categories. 9 funds. You're right. Good memory, Lori. Better than mine. Just make sure that you have the right fund selected here in this field whenever you select that category. So you're probably going to have to spend some time combing through all of your categories, and it may take some time.
Can I give you a really good tool for this, Matt?
Oh, what is it?
So the search tab up in the top of the accounting register or tab, accounting screen, allows you to go in under Edit Search, and if you need to correct categories, when you go in and you make these connections, it's not going to update existing transactions. They're static. They're not going to update. But you can go in here and find your category that's in question that you've updated with the right fund. Put in whatever the category is, like children's ministry, include your subcategories.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Because this is really a big deal. And then submit. And this is for whatever time period you input. But this shows you these transactions. So in this screen, Matt, you can update
you can
your
go back
transactions
and fix each transaction
as
from here.
they fall off. Because they're going by that criteria set in your search, they'll fall off and you'll know when you've corrected everything. So it's an amazing tool.
See, this is why we wanted you in this live stream.
This is my favorite tool.
Can you imagine Wes and I doing this, just the two of us? Yeah, we need you, Lori.
Occasionally you just have to nerd out in accounting and go, what are we doing here?
Right. Shauna asked, can you explain how to correctly transfer between categories and funds? For example, we transfer a set amount each week from general offerings to payroll fund. Should we establish specific categories for weekly transfers?
So I'm going to do this in the kindest, most beneficial way that I possibly can. Okay? You do not need a payroll fund.
Nope.
You are working too hard for the program.
Yep.
If your payroll categories are set up correctly for budgeted and non-budgeted,
which by default they are.
But they are. But some people change that, and then if you've got an older user, they won't have that option. But our user guide shows it, and you can always ask support. But if you go in and you have a payroll fund, my best suggestion would say, get rid of it. You do not need it. You're adding complexity that you don't need, because payroll is paid from the general fund. It's from your general budget. It's money that is already taken into account to be spent. So why do you have it in a separate fund? Because if your categories are correct, payroll can be paid quite easily through the general fund and all of your category designations. And the beautiful part is you can run your reports off of it.
And it'll be simple, it'll be clean.
And it's beautiful. Yep. It's just beautiful. So if you want help with this, create a support ticket, send it in, and we'll help you with this, because I really, really want to make sure that you are moving forward in the right direction. There's absolutely no reason to move money into a payroll fund. Now, that being said, there is a way to correctly move money from one category and fund to another potential category and fund, and that is through a fund-to-fund transfer. We actually have a dedicated user guide article for this, Matt. But in your checking account, say I need to move money from the general offerings. I actually would say don't do it from the general offerings, but nope, expense transaction. We want to take $250. So I'm hands-free right now, so it's a little strange for me. Add a line, please. And then go to benevolence. Nope, category.
Oh, I'm so sorry, yes.
Okay, and we're gonna put a different fund here, say missions. We're doing this for a missionary.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Okay, and then a negative. $250. And the reason we're doing it this way, Matt, is because this is an expense transaction. So the first line item is automatically a minus.
Yeah.
But when you add the second line item, you've got to deposit the money into, no, don't do that.
Oh, no? You said the first line item had to be a minus.
No, it automatically is a minus because
right.
it's an expense transaction.
That's right, yes.
So the second line item is a deposit into that another category or fund.
The double
so that means
negative
we got to
is a
do the
positive.
negative.
Yep.
That's right, and that's why this is. This is a $0 transaction. It's still in my bank account.
So yeah, your total amounts aren't going to change at all. You're just moving it out of the general fund and adding it to the missions fund.
Correct. And so when you save it, that's what happens. It just moves the money from one fund to another. Now, in addition, you can create another transaction and move money from, exactly, name it. Name what you're doing. Because if somebody follows behind you, they're going to go,
why?
This?
Yeah,
why is this a $0 transaction?
Yeah.
Why is there no money in there? So always name it. If you need to move money from one account to another, now you would go create a transaction. You would change your transaction type to account transfer, okay? Here, again, name it. What are you doing? I'm moving money to the missions fund for ABC Missionary, okay? And then apply the transfer to whatever account the money is going into, right? Petty cash, whatever. And then apply the fund to where the money has been moved to. You know that you just moved it to the missions fund, so that's where we're taking and moving this money. How we're moving this money.
Done.
That updates the accounts, the funds, the categories, and all the things.
And it'll show up on all the reports.
And both of these transaction types are in our user guide.
Perfect. All right. So Shannon asked, can I correct the categories and funds to be for just my fiscal year? She was the one asking about fixing how all the categories were connected to the general fund. So she said, can I correct the categories and funds to be for just my fiscal year?
So I'm not sure that I understand what your end goal here is, because if you go in and you don't record the transactions on the date that you did them, you're not going to be able to balance your checkbook. Okay, and that's the whole point here is we're keeping a checkbook of all of the income and all of the expenses so that when you get your bank statement, you can reconcile these transactions. So if you go in and you change your dates, it will affect how your checkbook balances, because what happens if you change it, if it was written in September because your fiscal year started September 1st, but you change it to July so that it doesn't show up on your reports. Well, now your banking is going to be off, and that's part of the problem. Remember, this is your checkbook.
All right. Danny asked, as a liability account, can you link a credit card service with Stripe?
Depends on the service, but yes.
Yeah. So again, some institutions are connected with Stripe through their financial connections program. Most are, but some aren't. So it just depends on your circumstances. It could be that yours doesn't, but it's more likely that it does.
Right.
Christine asked, how can I account for Stripe fees versus what the actual is deposited to the bank account? How does that work? Thank you very much, Christine, for asking. You can actually set all that up in the giving feature. It's actually not done in the accounting feature. So when you set up online giving in ChurchTrac, that's done through the giving and pledges screen. What you can do is you can have, I don't have a way to illustrate that here because I don't have an online giving transaction. This is just a demo account. But whenever you have a transaction, whenever like Stripe deposits that data to your ChurchTrac account and you have a batch report here, just click on that batch on the giving screen and then click the Actions button in this in the menu here at the very bottom, and then select the Create Deposit button. Now, for the online giving transaction, the menu is going to look different than what I'm showing you here. When you do that for an online giving transaction, you'll see a menu slide out from the right, and in that menu, there's an option to set up what's called automatic online giving deposits.
Those payouts are so beautiful.
And you can then select a category for online giving fees. And our system, what happens is when you set that up, our system will automatically deposit those batches to your accounting screen, subtract the fees, and apply it to that online giving fee category, that expense category. So the money will balance, it'll match what's in the bank account, and you'll be able to account for and report on those fees. So, and it'll all be done while you're sleeping.
And all the transactions that were entered in the giving screens, because people use different categories for everything. So all that category detail follows and goes into the bank account automatically. You don't have to think about it.
Yep.
It's the best part about it.
So thank you very much for asking. That's how you do that. You do it on the giving screen by setting up automatic online giving deposits. Again, we have an article in our user guide that goes into full detail with illustrations that I can't give you here, so you can get the full picture of how that works. All right, Paul Melcher, you asked, if I ask you to update all the giving from QuickBooks, will that add into my bank account? If I ask you to update all the giving from QuickBooks, will that add into my bank account? Paul, if you don't mind, clarify that. I'm a little actually confused by that.
I think what Paul's doing is he's tracking his contributions in QuickBooks and each person is a category and
a class or a category or something.
We can't actually do that for you, Paul, but what you can do is we have a manual giving import template that you could actually fill out as long as you have an email for all of these givers, these contributors. You could just put their sum of everything that they've given for the year in from QuickBooks in that spreadsheet, import that, and then move forward using ChurchTrac to record your contributions to the end of the year.
Nice. All right. Patricia asked, we are coming from QuickBooks. How in ChurchTrac do you record in-kind donations and transfer from one bank account to another? She asked this several minutes ago, so we've already shown you how to do the bank transfer from account to account or from fund to fund. But to do the in-kind donations, and you do this also in the giving screen. On the categories tab, do we have an in-kind donations category added by default for new accounts?
We do now.
Okay, we do now. If your church has been using ChurchTrac for a while, you may not have this already. Go ahead and click the Add button at the top of the category screen and create an in-kind donations category. This is really, really important because as you record donations on that main contribution screen, I'll even show you this. I'll click the Add button. We'll pretend like somebody donated something today. Click the Add Contributions button. We'll say Emily wants to donate, let's say in-kind.
A piano.
Yeah, piano. It doesn't really matter what it is, but something. It could even just be like canned food. Oh, did I not? There we go. Okay, I can't type today, guys. I'm so sorry. So Emily is donating an in-kind donation. I can leave a note in the memo line to say what it was. Let's say canned food for like the soup kitchen or something.
So how much do you put in the amount, Matt?
$0.
Why?
This is crucial because it's not up to you to determine what the market value of this item is. It is up to the donor to know what that is and write that off on their taxes in tax season. So when they hand you the receipt for this item and ask you to account for it, you hand that receipt right back to them and say, no, you need this. It's not for you to store or to put on the contribution statement at all. You enter $0 for all in-kind donations, no matter how big or small.
Why? Who told you that?
The IRS.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure that we're both on the same page here. This is an IRS rule, not a ChurchTrac rule.
Yeah, this is not from us.
Gotcha.
This is not like a quirk of our software. The IRS requires that churches file that as $0 and that the donor write the market value of that item off on their taxes during tax season, not you.
Cool beans.
All right, thank you very much for asking, Patricia. Let's go ahead and move on to Jeff. He asked how to handle the quarterly tax IRS payments. We do remove the costs as a debit for the employee. Do I just set up a fund to put those values into in order to keep it out of the general fund as a carryover?
So this is a really cool question.
Thank you, Jeff.
This is your 941, your payroll taxes. And we actually have an article in our user guide about this because it's very specific. So as long as you are actually recording your payroll deductions in your payroll transactions the right way, you can do this very easily with your 941. So in the accounting, and there's actually a video, I think it's me, that on payroll, how to do payroll in ChurchTrac. It is me.
There you go.
So this is a really cool and very helpful user guide article.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to come up with a word. This is, and if you go back up a little smidge, go back up right there. It says, what about recording my quarterly 941? Woo, woo. We cover it, and it's very easy to do as long as, and this is the caveat, as long as you're recording your payroll correctly in ChurchTrac, This is easy to do because you can pull reports for every category that you need to attribute on this 941, Matt. It's so cool. So utilize this information. I think you said Jeff?
Jeff, yes.
Jeff, utilize this information. If you get into a pickle, we are here to help you, and we want you to be absolutely successful on this.
All right. Desi asked, if you download the transaction file from 2023 to present, but it stopped at August 2024, can you delete and reload the file?
So first, Desi, let me give you a little bit of insight. Don't import that many transactions. I don't know if you're doing this in the accounting register, but that's going to be a nightmare. You really want to do this in bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
And you'll hear my team say this because I say this all the time, and I'm sure Matt says it too. Eat this elephant one bite at a time.
Yep.
You don't want 3 years worth of data in here that you have to sift through and scroll past and get, it's
not
too
all
much.
At once anyway.
Yeah, not all at once. Do it a little at a time. Get your information in here. If you're doing giving, it's the same thing. You still need to do smaller chunks of data because the importer can time out, and then you're stuck with that data and you have to go filter out what you've already imported versus what didn't import, because there's not a way at this time to hit an undo button. It doesn't work like that.
All right. Teresa asked, can I add budget codes to the accounting categories? So I'm guessing she's wanting to number them.
So in your categories, Matt, you can go up and select one for me.
So like children's ministry.
Yeah. See how it says category number right there? There you go. You can add your numbers here. The only place they are going to show is here, and for ease of entry when you're entering contributions in the giving screen or transactions in the accounting register.
Yeah, you can type by that number.
Yeah, they will not show on your budget. The only way you're ever going to get them to show is to add them to the title. And then that gets a little bit wonky with the way your categories display on checks or transactions.
Yeah, but it's a trade-off.
I mean, yeah, it's a trade-off.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa. Christina asked, if you set up a fund and you're able to set money into this fund, but you're not seeing when you are spending from this account. If you're set up...
I know what she's saying.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's it. So if you set up a fund and you're able to set money into this fund, but you're not seeing when you're spending from this account.
So go to the account register for me. Any account, I don't care. So in your beginning balance transaction, which yours is way back on page 54.
Yeah, all the way over on page 54. There we go.
See how it says multiple categories? Double click that for me, Matt. Here, you enter all of your transactions with the amounts, and you're funding your fund, if you will. So I know that sounds really strange, but this is how you get the money into the fund, is through transactions.
Yeah.
Let's go back to categories for a second, Matt, and show that property aspect of when you hit the property and you look over here and see the default fund. That's actually very important, because when you use whatever category in your account register in a transaction, this default fund comes into place. So nothing's going to go into or out of that fund unless you have this in place.
Yep.
So go back to the account register for me, and this is probably going to help other people as well, so that's why I'm hitting on this. Create a new transaction for me. See where your categories general offerings there, Matt? I don't care about anything else in this. I just want to show the categories. Do a drop down and pick missions for me. Notice the fund changed to missions fund?
Because that's the default set for it.
Because that's the default. So when you're adding these transactions, whether it's in the giving screen under missions income or in the accounting screen, that fund is attached in the background. So there's so much of this that works for you, so you don't have to do it. And that's what makes these work. So if you're not seeing money come in or go out of a fund, it's because your categories are not linked to that fund correctly.
Right. All right, thank you, Christina. Kira asked, are we able to import QuickBooks information, or do you recommend we start fresh with ChurchTrac?
So QuickBooks is a great program, Matt, but ChurchTrac and QuickBooks work differently. So the data itself is not compatible out of QuickBooks and into ChurchTrac.
Yeah, because the one's a double entry, this is a single entry.
So then you get into proprietary workings and stuff like that. So the simplest way for you to be able to get information into your ChurchTrac bank account is through your bank statements, okay? Because your bank statements are going to have your deposits and your expenses on there. When you import those transactions, you can categorize them as you go, and then you have that data. I am certainly not saying get rid of your QuickBooks data. I would keep hard copies of everything, hard copy being a PDF on your computer, or printed copies, because if something happens to a computer, and churches' computers die all the time.
All the time.
You need a hard copy of this. So it's very important for you to have this information. But going forward, when you are using ChurchTrac, you're going to have reconciliation reports, you're going to have annual budget reports, you're going to have income statements and that kind of thing. So all of this is going to work for you to be able to provide you the information. And we are glad to help you get moving on this. And that's actually why we have this class set up as well.
Yep. Marilyn asked, I show the funds and categories, but they're not updating each time I go into the accounting feature. How do I get this to update? So you show the funds and categories, but they're not updating each time. I'm not sure what you mean by show them. If you can... That
would definitely be a support ticket, because we need to see what's going on in order to best help you. Because it may be that the giving is not coming over because you're not clicking the create deposit button. It may, I don't know, there can be a myriad of things going on there.
Yeah. Kelly asked, it is my best understanding that funds are related to bank accounts. Nope. For example, our church has one bank account through which all income and expenses flow. Do we handle designated giving through categories?
We can.
So like the way it works in ChurchTrac, and we see this all the time with churches, is in the past, they've created separate checking accounts for for each designated or restricted fund. You don't need to do that anymore. You can totally overhaul your banking and just simplify everything and have it all done in ChurchTrac. So you can have everything in one checking account and one savings account, and then divide everything up into the funds from there. So you use the categories to label donations and expenses, the transactions themselves. The funds are where you're storing the money at your church. Those are the buckets that you're putting money into for a specific purpose. And then you're not using that money except for that one designated purpose. So set up a savings and a checking account, and then create different funds for all the initiatives you have at your church, and use the categories to connect those things.
And just keep in mind that when you're running your reports, that funds, or neither categories, but funds are not account specific.
Yeah.
So you can't say I have a savings fund and I have $5,000 in my savings fund and I have $1,000 in my general checking. In my savings fund. Don't do that. General fund is general fund. It would be designated contributions that you're tracking, building fund money. Okay, we're running a building campaign, then we want all that money to go in savings because we're not spending it currently. If you run an income statement or and you see, or the search, let's go back to the search map, because that shows you exactly what account everything is in. So if you notice, it says checking account, savings account, checking account, checking account. That's because that's where this money lives.
Yeah, at the bank.
At the bank. In reality, you just need to know that when you need to use the money.
Yeah, to log in and say, okay, I'm pulling this money out of the bank and spending it on that.
That's it. Otherwise, simplify. Make it as easy as possible on yourselves, and use the funds as your buckets to designate that money to where you want it to live, and that what pile.
No more having to juggle 7 different checking accounts.
No, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Your treasurer is one to lose their mind at that point.
Yeah. Jeff said, I would like a top category to not accept a deposit, only the subcategory. Is that possible?
No. I mean, there's no blocking that, Matt. The trick here, Jeff, is to train your people that you want the details of those subcategories. Just saying general income is great, but what about tithes and offerings and all these things that fall under general income, or missions? What if it's missionary Joe Blow that is supposed to be receiving the money, and somebody just puts it in missions and there are no details? You don't know where that money is supposed to go. So training is everything, and your volunteers are going to certainly be willing to learn this to make the most of your money.
All right, Kevin asked, can we track our investment accounts and show gains and losses and withdrawals each month? Yes, Kevin. You can add, I think Lori mentioned, you can add CDs and money market accounts, whatever investment accounts you have. you can add that as an account on the giving screen and just annually or monthly, whatever interval that account runs on, jump into the account and add a transaction to show the gain or loss.
And this is a deposit entry or is an expense entry.
Yeah.
And interest is a deposit. It's very important to remember that interest is a deposit. I see all the time when people are trying to reconcile that they have entered their interest income as an expense and it won't let them reconcile because it's not adding up correctly. So those details are very important.
Yep. Leslie asked, how do I update a date on the giving and deposit side? That's on the giving and pledges screen. But the only way to update that is if let's say you have a batch and you accidentally added a contribution in that batch that doesn't belong there, you would have to click on it here and delete it.
Provided your user account has that privilege.
Yeah, provided that you have that user permission. Or if you created a batch, the whole batch is wrong on the wrong date. Maybe you just accidentally clicked the wrong date on the calendar.
You can edit that.
You can edit that?
Yes,
you can edit the date?
Edit that.
Lori, how did I not know this? I work here.
So on say 9/22/25, go to Actions and edit the date or description.
Oh,
So you can change your batch description and you can update the date. This does the whole batch though, Matt. This is not 1 or 2 entries in that batch. This is the whole batch.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for asking. MTPBC staff asked, is account equal to the name fund or category? No. Accounts, categories, and funds are distinct things.
You do not want 3 kids named Billy.
No, you don't want 3 kids named Billy. You don't want a children's ministry account, a children's ministry category, and a children's ministry fund. You need a checking account, and that's all the accounts are. Your accounts are the financial institutions, the checking and savings. The
BBC, ViStar, PNC, whatever.
Yeah, they're your mortgage company and your investment accounts. That's what your accounts are. Your categories are your chart of accounts. They're the labels that you're using to label each transaction according to its purpose. The funds are the buckets you're putting the money into at your church for a specific ministry purpose. That's the 3 different things in ChurchTrac accounting. So no, don't get them confused and do not name them the same thing. Don't do it. In fact, if you've named like an account and a fund the same thing, then that tells us that in your mind, accounts and funds are one-to-one.
Are lateral, yeah.
Are lateral. That you need an account for every fund for every account. That's not the case. You can have one checking account and divide that money up across multiple funds.
Here's the other complexity of that, Matt, and you're going to laugh at me when I tell you this, but when you do put in a support ticket, at some point you will, you ask us a question, and I see this all the time, probably every day if I was to average this out. I have a general fund checking account, I have a general fund giving category, and I have a general fund. And I have a report that somebody sent to me and said, I don't understand why my general fund is not accurate. Well, I don't know what this report is because everything's called the general fund. It's where I go back to, you have 3 kids named Billy. These reports show the general fund, but which one? You don't know, and you want me to know. Bless you, I can't help you.
Yeah, even we have trouble disentangling some of the messes.
It can be very confusing.
Yeah. Jeff asked, can I hide, disable, or archive a category so no longer usable but still reportable? You can inactivate a category. You can go to the accounting screen, click on the categories tab, select the category, and at the bottom,
General Offerings 2022.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah, it's already been inactivated. Boom, there it is. But it's not reportable when you inactivate it, right?
It's not, because the intention is for it not to show. Now, you can activate it and run a report on it. But for example, this was part of our pledge campaign in 2022, so we don't really need that anymore.
Yeah.
But if you need to run a report for that time frame of the year 2022, simply go in, turn it on, and run the report on it.
Yeah. MTPBC staff asked, will this recording be on the YouTube channel to watch again? Yes. This is going to be on the YouTube channel like within minutes afterwards.
Well, yep. Look at me, I just learned something new.
It'll be like in the live tab. So when you go to the YouTube channel, there's a tab at the top that says live. Just click on that and you'll see all of our past live streams. So you can watch that there. So don't hesitate to rewatch if you ever want it.
I just learned something new about YouTube.
Yeah, but make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. David's got the banner at the bottom. Go ahead and subscribe there to stay up to date on all future live streams that we do, because we stream there too.
I like it.
All right, Shannon asked, so how do I correct transactions this year to reflect the proper fund? I would only want to correct transactions for this fiscal year, which starts in February. Okay, so she's just wanting to go back to February to fix things. Doesn't want to go.
Search, Shannon. So that the search up at the top of your accounting screen is the best tool for this, because you can go in and edit.
But you can see the dates too.
Yeah, you can see the date. Double click that, Matt, so she can see. You're going to squish it down a little bit. Then you can go in and update your funds here. So if something is not reflecting correctly, you can update it here, and then close it. And it saves automatically, and it updates everything else in the background. That's where your edit search really comes in, Matt, for being able to go in and search a category and then pull up all the transactions related to that category and update them. And as you update them, like for example, if you said general offerings and general fund, okay, like Sunday offering, go there.
Yeah.
So it was general offerings and general fund. And if I needed this to be general offerings, but I needed this to be missions fund, when I corrected this, if I set my edit criteria to general offerings, general fund, it's going to then fall off my list.
Yeah.
So you know when you're done. That's the best part. I'm a jots and tittles person. So having that works for me so well.
I'm crossing my I's and dotting my T's all the time, just like you, Lori.
Crossing your eyes and dotting your T's.
All right. Janie asked, can I explain the process of the giving deposit transactions with the bank statement transaction linked with your bank?
We don't have an online giving account in here, Matt, to be able to show this,
No.
but our user guide does allude to this. So if you go to the help and look up online giving, there are some pictures in here that help with this. Setting up online giving.
Oh, setting up online giving.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go to the
it's not
bottom.
working.
Yeah,
That's
it's right
so
there.
funny.
It's right there. No, it's right
Oh,
there.
there it is right there at the very bottom. I don't know how I missed it. Thank you.
So this Matt.
Yep, that's me.
And then if you go in and you online giving, just scroll through it and let's see where it's at. Because there's a picture of it for it. That's all Stripe set up. We don't need that. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Using, embedding.
We'll get to it. This is a long article. There's a lot here.
What? Oh, that's set up. That's Church Connect. That's online giving. Keep going. I know it's in there somewhere. Nope. I didn't give you the right article. Okay, who's the name of this?
Janie.
Janie, I would ask you to reach out to support. What we can do is we can log into your account and help you with this process, because we can send you some screenshots that tell you exactly where you need to do this from your own account. And this way you can do it. And if necessary, we can actually work with you on a phone call or through other resources.
Shannon asked, please explain the difference between accounts, funds, categories. We did that already. She asked this several minutes ago. I thought accounts were actual financial institutional accounts, but not. No, they are. So we explained that. So accounts are your accounts, funds are your buckets, categories are the labels that connect them. All right. Anonymous asked, there is not a depreciation account. Looks like only the asset value was entered. We are paying loan payments for a new church. Should I bother with trying to correct or leave as is? The previous treasurer who set up the program is deceased.
Eek. So here's what I would have you do. I would say ChurchTrac has some modifications, some workarounds that we can provide you to help you with this. But this is very specific to each use case. So we want to make sure that we help you the most effective way. Put in a support ticket and we'll absolutely give you the tools that you need. Because again, we have the ability to look at your account when you request it, and we can help you and point you in the direction that you need to go that is going to be the most beneficial to you.
Karen said, I was told for giving to show in the budget, it has to be deposited from the giving screen to the accounting screen. But when I do this and go to accounting, I see duplicate transactions. Why is that?
Well, that sounds like that you have BankSync enabled, and you're doing that. So what we say is, don't import your giving if you're depositing from the giving screen. Don't import it to. And if you're using online giving and you have automatic payments, deposits happening, don't add it again by syncing it, or some people will hit that create deposit button and try to deposit it again. I've seen this both ways. So it might be that you've got duplicates because of how it's being handled.
Yeah. So just, make sure that when you're handling the import from the bank sync, you just skip that transaction, but then deposit it from the giving screen to the accounting screen. That's important because the bank doesn't care which things your donors gave to or who gave. They just see a solid amount that was given in that deposit, and that's the only thing that you get from the bank.
That's right.
So deposit it from the giving screen so that you retain all that data, and then it'll filter into the budget through those categories.
Right.
All right, Barbara asked, was there an automatic upgrade or cost to ChurchTrac this month? I was going to ask for this by our administrator, but maybe this was done already. I can't look into that for your account, Barbara. You would need to reach out to the support team for us to investigate that. Let's see here. Shannon asked, so if you point your categories to the correct or newly added fund, do I have to fix each transaction? Or does, yes. So that's what we were talking about in the search tool. By going into the categories tab and then correcting the fund, you still have to go back into past transactions and correct which fund those transactions were attributed to, because that fixing it in the categories tab only changes how things go moving forward. The past is the past though. So use the search feature to look up all transactions that use that category and go through each one and make that fix on the fund tab with the funds.
On the transaction itself.
Mm-hmm. Patricia asked, sorry, I missed how to properly move money from one bank account to another bank account. So Patricia, since we already illustrated that, just reach out to the support team and we'll help you with that, because we got other questions we're going to answer. Christina, thank you. Follow-up, do I have to go back and change each transaction now to get the fund and category set up properly? Yes. These are some questions from minutes ago. How would you get the category set up to the fund correctly? Yes. Thank you very much, Christina. Roman asked, we have repeat categories in each fund for budgeting purposes. Is there a way to simplify that? Mm-hmm. Like the youth fund, category food, also Sunday school fund, category Sunday school food. So I guess you're using multiple categories for food across different programs or instances. Sounds to me like you still need those different categories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because when you enter them in the transaction, Matt, it's going to give you the details of the parent category, food. Yeah. So if you're buying food for Sunday school, you're going into Krispy Kreme, yummy, and you're buying your Krispy Kreme donuts on Sunday morning, that's for Sunday school. But if you're doing pizza for a youth event, that's a whole nother food category for the youth. So you're still going to need that level of detail if you're tracking that.
All right. Roman asked, I'm sorry, that's the question we just asked. Kelly asked, we originally had the same number of funds as we did categories. Whoa. I deleted all those funds and left us with just general fund. So is it best to have a fund for every single thing that people designate gifts for?
Well, it depends, because sometimes, Matt, money comes in, for example, for foreign missions. Mm-hmm. When that money comes in, it turns on and goes back out.
Yeah,
so it's just a pass-through category. So you don't need a fund for that because it's moving right on through. It's just the churches.
The fund should go back down to zero by the end of the month or whatever period.
So you don't need a fund for that.
Yeah.
You just need the categories. But if you have, for example, VBS, that's a children's ministry event or a children's ministry fund, those categories and funds would be linked. You take money in for VBS for a longer period of time, and then you spend it gradually. You want to know what your net position is on that fund, then yes, you need a fund for it.
Yeah.
So if you have specific questions that you need an answer to, I need you to reach out to support so we can give you the best work through for your situation.
Yeah, because sometimes this is situational and contextual sometimes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Christine Sanchez asked, can you explain batching? That would be on the giving screen. Mm-hmm. So a batch is all donations given on one day. That's what a batch is. And then you can deposit that batch, all the donations given that day, in one go onto the accounting screen.
And what some churches do, Matt, is they go in and they do morning contributions, and then they do evening contributions, and then they take both of those batches and then they deposit them in the bank in one deposit. So the bank only sees one lump sum of money, but people, they want to see the delineation
between how much is being given in the morning and how much
evening and that kind of thing. So there's different tracking that's going on there, but the bank sees it as one big deposit.
Yeah.
So when you fill out your bank transaction and deposit slip, you just want that to be one big lump sum deposit.
Yeah. Derek asked, we wrote a check many months ago. I'm sorry, he had a typo. And has not been cashed, and so not reconciled. Any suggestion on how long to wait or what to do with it?
Well, Derek, that actually is going to depend on the rules of your bank, because some banks actually automatically void a check after 120 days, that it's no longer viable. So you have to contact your bank and ask that question as to, how long do you honor an old check? And if they don't have a period of time, you can stop payment on it if you wish.
Yep. Teresa said, I'm able to run monthly and weekly reports. Well, yeah, Teresa. On the accounting and budget screen, you go to the reports tab and you
set your date range.
Set the date range on the left-hand side of the screen. So whatever your start date and end date, you can make that a week long or a month long. And
there are two ways to set a date. You can do the drop down, which has set dates in it, or you can click into the white space and you'll get a calendar.
Yeah. And those quick ones are usually good for like going back to the beginning of the year or getting to the very end of the year for
a month.
Or the end of the month or something like that, just for a quick jump to. All right, Leslie asked, after completing the giving, should I then put that information in the accounting and budget side also, No, you don't need to go into the accounting screen and manually report it. You just you just open up that batch on the giving screen, click the actions button, and then select the Create Deposit button. And this will move that data from the giving screen to the accounting screen. It'll retain the amounts and the categories. It won't move the names. So for some of you that have a pastor and they want to know the accounting but not see the giving, that's beneficial. They can still see how much was donated and what categories were given to, but not see any names.
Right.
So that they don't know how much was given by who. So thank you very much for asking, Leslie. Teresa, should grant funds be separated from general giving?
Yes.
Yes. Because grant funds are usually like scholarships almost.
And if they get a grant, because some churches apply for grants and they receive a grant,
that too.
You have to report on that. So you have to have basically a different fund. You have to account for money that went into that, like how the deposit went in and then how you spend it. If you spend out of your budget categories, you need to update the fund on those transactions for the money that's coming out of that grant.
Very important question, Teresa. Mm-hmm. All right, last question. Shannon asked, we have an investment that has a fund, but it also has an account because the investment is at a company.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Edward Jones, for example.
Yeah, Edward Jones. So yeah, maybe you have at a specific institution, you have that account there. But if it's an investment or if it's a fund and it's for a specific purpose, like some sort of scholarship thing, then you would need a separate
building fund that you turned aside and made as an investment. It's still building fund money at the company whatever the account is being held. So you can notate, on your transactions that $50,000 is set aside in Edward Jones building. And this is the building fund money, so that when you go to build your building, you know where that money lives. That's the way and you can even use accounting tags on these transactions, which is really cool. So if you have a specific purpose that you're investing money and you're letting it grow and build over here on the side while you're still collecting, that's the best way to do that, is tag it and show them what I'm talking about, Matt. So in your checking account, on your transaction, I don't care what transaction you choose, there's a tag option right there. So you could actually put, this is Jimmy's lawn care, so you could say mowing.
Or like landscaping or something like that.
Whatever this $300 was for. This tag is now searchable in that infamous search screen.
Which allows you to pull up transactions across multiple things if they've all been tagged.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I go back to loving that screen.
Yeah, that search tool is your secret weapon.
It truly is. That's what we use when we have to troubleshoot issues for you guys.
Yeah, when you reach out to us, we log into your account and go to the search tab.
It's my favorite tool.
All right, well, I have ended the Q&A, so we're not going to take any more questions today. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you're like me and you think of 3 questions you wish you had asked, but it's too late, there's that orange help button. Reach out to the support team. Lori is our support manager, so she'll oversee the answers that you're getting from them. So don't hesitate to click on that, send us a support ticket, and we'll make sure that you're right as rain by the end of things.
Right as rain.
I have dropped links into the chat again. I've actually opened the chat up again so that you can see those links for our YouTube channel and our Facebook group. Please subscribe to that YouTube channel. This video will be on that live tab so that you can watch it later.
Hey, I learned that today.
Yeah, and all other live streams we've done, like last week we did one on budgeting.
Yes, we did.
So you can go and watch that one if you missed it. And then also join that Facebook group with other users. There are some great experts.
There really are. We have some wonderful users in our Facebook group. And Matt and I learn things because I don't work in the administrative side of the church. So there's things I read and I'm like, wow, that's a great way to do that.
Yeah, the comments on a question usually are like, amazing. I would never have thought of that.
Right, exactly.
So we would love to see you join that community. I hope you learned something today and are ready to hit the ground running with your accounting and get the most out of it. And rest assured that it was all done correctly so that you can manage the books at your church.
And not be stressed. I hate it when somebody sends it a support ticket and says, I'm almost in tears. I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, I pray God's blessings over all of your churches, and I hope you have a wonderful day.